Now. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's been a while. I think it's been months here, and we always promise a new episode. We're like that, we're like that bad YouTube channel that you love to watch, but they never post new episodes. And then every time they do, they're like, new episodes every week, and then they never do it. But you still watch it. You still watch it. Kenny the Glick, the Jew, Lucci here. What's going on, everybody?
What's up, y'all? Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while, I know. But it's the same stories, same market, same psychopathic trading.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's bring that into the foray here. There's a bunch of hot topics here going on, even despite the fact that summer lulls trading here, volumes are low. But I would say in the last several years, every time we've had an uptrend in the market, it's happened on pretty low volume. So, I still can't understand people throwing it out on Twitter and yelling, there's no volume, there's no volume, there's no volume. I would say since 2012, since we started this whole thing, we always rally on low volume, and the high volume comes in when we have the panic sell-off and all that kind of stuff. So summer doldrums here. We are slowly working our way back up to all-time highs. It turns out Kenny was close to being right on that Q call that you made. Remember, you had made a bet of what was the last one? You had made a bet of the Q's its X, Y, and Z price within a couple of years. What was that bet, Kenny?
Well, I'm still looking for 115 to get touched again, but I think we're going to close at 120 at the end of the year, no matter what. I still think the Dow's got a shot to go up to another 2,000 points going into January 20th, 2017. That's been my target for a while, because whatever is holding this market up, whether it be magic, the government, or whatever conspiracy theory you want to throw at it, the VIX is going to zero. The UVXY keeps going down. Market attempts to go down, seems like every day, and by the end of the day, we're either flat or up. So how could you fight this? Even my dad, who's the biggest bull in the world and believes in long-term investing, who just cleaned up, by the way, USL guys, the Glick fund, we had it at 815, 835, and 850. My dad said it'll be 1250, and he's never traded it before in his life. He said this thing will be back to 1250 by July 1st. 1248 today. The guy knows nothing about charts.
Well, you know what they say. Even the sun signs on a dog's ass is what they say. I mean, come on. Now, you know what will happen is he's going to book this, and he's going to roll into the next one, and you know what's going to happen, man. You know what's going to happen. He's going to get his face lit up.
I don't know. He's got patience and money is what you need to make in this market right now.
There you go.
For instance, I've been talking about dollar cost averaging, which no one ever speaks about lately. But in this market, day trading has been quite hard for me in the last 3 weeks. Because I was waiting for the post 9/11. I've always been saying this, how since 9/11, after we have a holiday weekend, if nothing bad happens, we usually gap up that following Tuesday or whatever. If we have Monday off, or if we have Friday off, usually that day when we get back, we gap up and we go. But we had that move prior to Memorial Day, and then since that move, we basically have gone flat, and it's kind of weird. We're not going down, but we're not going up. And I was talking to my dad about this, and he was saying, "Don't you think the market's due for a correction?" And I was like, first of all, we haven't gone anywhere for seems like for a year, right? 18 months maybe.
Yeah, we haven't gone anywhere. We just have these, these big panic induced sort of sell-offs that that get bought back, and they are huge reversals, and they pay out big.
Right. So in theory, this entire year, as far as I'm looking at it, has been a correction.
Yeah.
And a consolidation, and I think there's nowhere else to go but up from it. And the only thing that's going to change my attitude is if this stupid VIX or any of these VIX products start to go green and stay green, then I'll be a little bit concerned. But right now, oil's not going back to 20. I don't care what anybody's thinking. It was just a panic sell. People were thinking, and I was, when it broke down, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe solar and electric and all the alternative energy all the alternative energy ideas that we've been trying to push, and wind energy, maybe it was finally making a dent. And we only talk about that stuff when oil's going up. When it was going down, nobody gave a shit about solar and electric cars and all that stuff. But for a moment there, I was like, maybe we don't need oil. Maybe we won't go back to $50 a barrel. And next thing you know, $50 a barrel right here. And my dad said, what are you talking about? He's like, first of all, it's the most manipulated commodity there is. And secondly, they're not going to let it stay below, the price where nobody's making money on it. And he was right. It was just patience and just keeping your money sitting there. And, too bad he sold calls against some of it last week. He got taken out at some at like 11.20 the other, I think about a month ago. And they're still hanging on to the rest till July 1st. And so far, so good.
Indeed, indeed. Congrats to the Papa Jew here, the Papa Glick here. For any of you guys who are taking a look at that UVXY, and by the way, go ahead and interact with us on Twitter. Send us any questions you might have, anything you want us to take a look at, shoot the shit about. But with this UVXY, both Kenny and I are saying that, this thing was going to get to single digits, and here we are, simply because like every single sell-off we had, like nobody was really aggressively buying, any of these VIX products. There was this one like back in like March, I want to say, or April, where we shot back up to like $20 on, on the VIX. And then from there, it's just been selling since. So this UVXY, I really think they're going to reverse split this thing. And when they do reverse split this thing, maybe that's your sign we get somewhat of a correction. I'm seeing most of the action go to IWM, which means more juice for, some of the smaller, more beaten down names. And then again, some of those energy names that are coming back too, like, these days I'm trading casinos, like MGM is a great name, that has worked out really well. Beaten down names that just people are looking for value, and they're not getting it anymore in names like Apple and names like Netflix and names like, all that same old high beta shit that is just not working as well as it was. I mean, Amazon and Facebook still holding highs. I still think there's a lot of value there. You're still going to get some upside, but again, they're just looking for beaten down names that they can kind of rotate into. I mean, who knows? You might even see Twitter back to a 20 handle. It sounds crazy. That's another name, by the way, that I just don't want to trade. And there's a lot of names recently that people have put on do not trade lists. And let's run through our do not trade list here. Kenny, why don't you go ahead first? Let's give them a couple.
Personal stocks? I mean,
personal stocks that you just never will trade anymore. Recent ones that you just add to the list. I got like 5.
Well, there's just certain stocks that just for some reason I can't make money on. Like SRPT, for instance, what the hell had just happened here? That RLYP, any of these biotech stocks. Or, when you mentioned Twitter, the reason Twitter sucks to trade, and even though I own it right now, I got it, at $14, and I think you're right. I think it's getting taken over within the next couple of years. Somehow, some way, things can get back to $20. But as far as the banned list, I got a ton of them because they just don't trade well. Like Twitter, anytime it has an 18-cent move, it gives back 18 cents, and then it moves back up 20, and then it'll give back 21 cents. It's just an awful stock to trade during the day. I've kind of banned that from, even looking at it. Same thing with like Gilead. I like the stock.
Oh my God!
Trade it. It'll move 20 cents, pull back 35.
So bad. The Gilead, I remember, and I watched like a lot of options order flow, and I remember them aggressively buying 120 calls. This was when the stock was over $100, and looking like, IBB was really going to break out and all that stuff. And then I saw call buying all the way down, and everybody got shithouse, man. This thing got down to about $82. I'm looking at it right now. And then any rally here, again, it's difficult. Plus, you got the news here with Pharma the other day in Biogen, and you got Valiant out there doing God knows what. This is a tough industry to trade. Very tough industry to trade.
Right. Plus, you can't hold them overnight. We're talking about SRPT. I was sitting in this thing all day. It went green. I love the reversals. It popped up 18 cents, gave it all back. And then I was like, you know what? I got stopped out for 11-cent loss. And then it tanks 5 points in the aftermarket. I'm like, oh, thank God, I'm out. And then by the time I was patting myself on the back and thanking God that I wasn't in this thing, because I was debating whether or not to hold on to the last 400 shares I had, because it really wasn't budging, really wasn't going anywhere. It blasts down 5 points and then rallies back up 6. No rhyme or reason. They did a stock offering, which makes sense for the stock to go down. But then what the hell did it make? It went from $15.50 all the way back up to 20.5. Nothing makes sense here. And that's kind of the way I've been trading. You know, I've been trading. What doesn't make sense today? Oh, I don't know. Let's buy the shittiest stock I could possibly find. You know, and it's like, that's the kind of attitude that I've been trading on, and I've been looking for some shit stock. You know, we're trying to find some value. I've been liking this ENDP lately. You know, I like stocks that are down huge because once they bottom out,
you love this. You're a little catfish, huh? You little fucking bottom feeder over there.
Yeah,
huh?
But once they bottom out, the charts seem to work a lot better. Once they bottom out, they make that blueprint, and then they start to build a base.
Dude, I'll give you one of the best ones. I'll give you one of the best ones. Was the win. The win was one of the greatest ones here. You get the base here, and finally you get a change in sentiment, and finally you get some serious upside here. Like, this win was amazing.
Wow.
And I would even put IBB in that category too. I mean, there was a really nice run we caught. You know, from about 260, I think, to about 290. Unfortunately, still no upside, and luckily there was no real news like during the whole thing, just a short squeeze. You know, when it's news related, you know, then it becomes difficult to trade. You see all these gaps, you see all this ridiculousness. But again, like, by the way, I just saw 2 years out. I saw 2 years out some guy buy $30 calls on this rig, and he put down almost $1 million. I want to say maybe it wasn't $1 million. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but you know, this could be your gold mine here, buddy. This could be all yours here.
We're in it. We're in it already. We're in it from 1025 on the breakout. What was that last week? So I'm still in it.
Oh, there you go.
You know, again, with all those stocks, you know, the ATI, the KMI, the FCX, the RIG, the Alcoa.
Yep.
You know, I got a little bit of all of them, but I wanted to say, you know, let's go to this WLL. And this is kind of how I've been trading lately. I buy a little bit, and then if I'm right, and at least I got a little bit. But if I'm wrong, at least I only have a little bit so I can buy more on the pullback. So WLL, and I'm thinking the stock's never going below 925. Next thing you know, I'm buying at 1250 because I was getting pissed off that I sold it at 10 on the way up. Long story short, 1250, bang, it goes to 1280.
Right.
Thinking, oh, I should have bought more. Next thing you know, it's back to 12, back to 1150, back to 11, back to 1050, back to 10. And I'm buying on the way back down, thinking, all right, if this thing breaks 925, I'm going to take a $1,500 hit on it. You know, I'm not trading big like you. But next thing you know, boom, it doesn't break the 950. Then next thing you know, 1050, I'm buying more at 1130 on the way back up. And I blew it all out at 1250. I got like 200 shares left. It seems to have to, you know, I don't know if you want to call that swing trading. It's like short-term investing, more or less, in this.
Right. You're and that goes back to your dollar average, you know, cost kind of situation, right? So you have something that has a little bit of juice on it. You know, you average down here, and again, these are names that have changed their sort of sentiment. These dog stocks that have kind of, you know, just came back to a little bit of life here. You take a look at that United States Steel. I mean, this thing was trading down $7, $6, hit $20. Look at the move today. This thing is moving back to 1.5 per session. You know, so there's a lot of volatility back in these things. So that dollar cost averaging on the right names is pretty good. It's pretty good. Plus, you know, that's where most of the action is happening. The oils and the energies here. I got to go through some of the names on my do not trade list. The two biggest ones now. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am not trading this. I am not going to come back to this Bank of America again. Why? Because every single time there's some news, jobs report, or whatever, this is the stock gets most affected here. Despite you know, a lot of the options activity that I've been seeing, people buying Citigroup, people buying JP Morgan, you know, people buying Bank of America, looking for that squeeze on these things, looking for them to start retracing some of that big sell-off from the beginning of the year, and nobody is coming back to buy these things. Guys, banks are way too strapped down with you know, with news headlines, with lawsuits, with you know, this rate hike, which doesn't even matter. But again, you can see them buying into this shit and getting people to pay up into news that rate hikes might be more than anticipated or whatever, and then they punk everybody. Every time they punk everybody. Calls go to complete shit. And unless you're hedging with, let's say, fucking gold, which would be nugget right here, this NUGT is insane. Unless you're hedging with shit like this on the overnight news, you know, chances are your calls are going to go to shit. So that's one name here that I'm not trading anymore. And then the Baba. The Baba, I hate this thing. I hate this thing. I absolutely hate this thing.
Yes,
it doesn't move. It doesn't do shit. There's no follow through with any of the buyers or sellers that are behind it. So I don't know. This is one that I'm just chalking up and throwing away completely here too. Besides that, that's more or less pretty much it. And unfortunately, like, my world is a large cap world. And if most of the juice is going to a lot of these oil names and these small cap names, like, I got to sit on my hands, you know, and that's when I'm fine here sitting on my hands here. We got a couple questions here coming in. We got Jake Scholes here asking, Brexit coming up. You guys talk to your bookies yet, or is UVXY the way to fly for risk mitigation here? If you're thinking of the Brexit, do you even factor in you know, the Brexit news? And again, I mean, you know, we're in a period in time where we're not even focused on the elections right now. We're just kind of focused on, you know, Yellen and the rate hikes. You know, maybe those things will change, but do you even focus on any of that?
I think you know what I'm going to say. News, earnings, fundamentals, economic data absolutely means nothing. But when you mention the UVXY, that is what you should be focusing on. The thing about UVXY, and mentioned dollar cost averaging, you can't dollar cost average UVXY, guys.
Can we please all just realize that? Everybody on Twitter, you cannot do it with UVXY or any of these leverage ETF products. You cannot do it.
Except the inverse, SVXY. That was awesome. You know, and I got my dad in at like $45. We blew it out at 60 the other day. And he didn't want to believe me at first. I was like, Dad, there's no way the stock can go down. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, UVXY, and I tried to explain to him at the futures contract and how it's the contango. Even if the VIX goes up, this thing could go down. UVXY, people are so bent on owning this thing in case the market crashes. But listen to what you're betting on. I want to own a stock that 98% of the time goes down just in case the market crashes. But as you're waiting for the next crash, the stock just went from 60 to 9. So you're good. Dollar cost averaging? No, don't do it. And when they reverse split it, all it's going to do is trickle back down. Unless the market officially is crashing, or at least a 5 or 10% move to the downside in one day, this thing doesn't budge. And the thing is, you know, even when it does pop, you got to sell the pop. It's only a very rare Ebola fiscal cliff where you see this thing actually trending higher. And for the market, and here's the thing, even if the market was to go back down to where we were in January, the UVXY would only go back to maybe 20, 25 at this point.
Right.
The idea that if the market goes back to where it came from, the UVXY is going to go back to where it came from is completely false. That's not how it works. Like DWTI. That fucking thing was $440, and now it's what? 63.
Yep.
Even if oil was to give back 10 or 15 points, the stock has been destroyed. It's a futures contract bullshit ETF, ETN, whatever the hell it is. Maybe it goes back to 100, which is a nice move at this point. But the days of it going back to 435 are over. It's been adjusted. It doesn't work like that. People don't seem to get it. That's why if you're going to sit here and you want to make money in this market, I mean, I think the slow accumulation of stocks is where you're at right now. But if you're wrong, you got to be prepared to take the loss. And that's how everybody loses money, because you're accumulating a position and you're thinking, all right, I'll buy more on the way down, buy more on the way down. There's got to be a point where you have to say, I guess it's not coming back up, and you got to cut your losses, because you don't want to make one trade ruin, 10 good ones. You make the one good one outweigh the 10 shitty ones, and that's how you survive. No, and I'm not saying that this has been a fun, May just freaking sucked, and continues to suck really right now. The only thing I'm making money on are the positions that I've been owning, and I'm selling puts across the board.
Nice.
Because if you guys don't know, when, just like Bank of America, I sell puts on Bank of America. The stock goes nowhere.
Yep.
But every 3 weeks, the options expire. You sell them out, a month out, you get your 15 or 20 cents. Stock never goes back down. It just floats around, and you make money. But same kind of scenario, if you own the stock, you got to sell calls against it. If you could find a stock that goes nowhere, that's kind of what I like, because I know I can sell puts on them. Like I have puts on every single one of these. Selling puts, guys, is your bullish bias,
right,
but you're giving yourself this leeway because let's say, for instance, like Potash of Saskatchewan, another one, stock goes from 1550 to 1850, 1550. So I sell the 1550s a couple of months out, and if it just sits around and does nothing, at least I take in that 50 or 60 cents, and and then roll them into the next couple of months. And eventually, the idea is you'd only sell puts on stocks that you want to get put in your account. I wouldn't be selling Netflix $95 puts going out 3 weeks from now because you know what? I don't want to own Netflix at 95. And I wouldn't be doing it on Apple or Amazon or any of that stuff. I do it on stocks where if it goes to that price, I'm willing to buy the stock. And that's really, what I've been doing. And I've got, about 10 puts, again, when I'm selling the puts, it's not like you're betting against it. You're betting that the stock's not going to go down. So it could go nowhere. It could go slightly down and it could go up and you're still going to make money. That's why, and this is the kind of environment where, it's pretty good, especially on the Qs. I mean, it's been 3 weeks. We haven't gone anywhere.
Well,
take it in premium every week.
Interesting thing you're bringing up, the the sell put strategy. I got to bring in the the news recently that this well-known retail trader, that Tasty Trade, went ahead and co-signed. They dubbed her Karen, the super trader. They said SEC filed a suit against her about, or I believe it was FINRA, one of the regulating bodies, about the fact that she missold investors, and kind of got a little bit creative when she was racking up losses off the sell put strategy when the market's really tanked. Now, there's a lot behind this news story. Anybody that wants to talk about it, go ahead and interact on Twitter. This Karen, the super trader, was known for making a good 40 mil, 50 mil with this aggressive, highly levered selling put strategy. And, for the past couple of years, I mean, obviously since 2012 here, if you're taking a look at the indexes, this has been a great strategy. It's been a great strategy. However, recently, we've had these aggressive sell-offs where strategies like this, you're going to get the margin calls. You're going to get the margin calls, especially if you are aggressively leveraged, which I'm sure she was, because again, she was seeing, a lot of success with that particular strategy. And maybe at one of these points, she got caught with her pants down and didn't know what to do and just kind of continued to take compensation, I guess, in the face of a lot of losses on the books. At least that's what they're saying. I don't know if this is proven or not, guys. If you want to interact or talk about it here on Twitter, we'll bring in some Q&A here. But again, the sell put strategy is very good in these types of markets because it's low volume, the risk is low. You just don't want to get caught selling puts for a reversal type of a strategy. So if you get a huge panic, you don't want to try to catch the bottom by fucking selling some puts. You know what I mean? Like that could get real ugly real fast. So again, for the patient investor, for the patient trader, the sell option strategy is a very, very, very good strategy. Both sides of the trade, obviously, in this low volume environment. It takes a bit of skill to pull it off, a little bit of management, to pull it off both sides. But if you're the more patient trader, that's definitely a strategy I would look into, if you're interested and you have the account size, to be able to sell options. A lot of folks don't have that account size, unfortunately.
Right. And the most important thing to take away from it is, like I said, be willing to buy what you're selling. Okay.
Right.
Because I used to, back in the day, I would sell, if I thought the Qs were stabilizing, and I would, this is when I was trading size back in the day, you'd see a bid out there for 10 cents and the Qs were like 6 points away. Like, wow, it's never going to go there. You'd sell 200 of them for a dime. You take in the $2,000 and then you're basically sitting there hoping and praying and wishing that nothing bad happens.
Right.
But you're exposed to 20,000 Qs.
Right. Right. So your leverage is crazy.
Yeah. And, it's great when they work. And we used to do it on Fridays. You probably remember when, there'd be nickel bids sitting around and, chances are the stock's not going to pull back to that point. And you just blast it for 100 puts and, just hope we don't crash within the next 3 hours and you take in your $500. I used to do it all the time. But now anything I sell puts on, it's because I want to buy it. I got 10, 15, 50 puts on pot. I'm willing to buy 1,000 shares of pot at 15.50. That's where I want it. U.S. Steel. And well, you know, when it did tank down to 13, I was getting 12.50 puts for like $1 going out a couple of months. And you know, obviously it's better if I just would have bought the goddamn stock or the calls and made a nice 5 points. But now those puts are cut in half. You know, it's a 50% gain, and I was willing to buy 1,000 shares of U.S. Steel at, you know, 12.50 or minus the $1 I took in, so 11.50. And you know, the whole way my dad and his guys got into the USO was they thought 9 was the bottom, and they sold a ton of puts at 9, took in like 40 to 50 cents. And they got put 10,000 shares at 9.
Right.
But at the time, they were thinking, I'm willing to buy 10,000 shares of USO at 9 because I don't think oil's going any lower. It went down to 8. They were shitting. And, you know, when it started going back up, they bought a ton of it, you know, at like 8.15. And, you know, that's the whole concept. Be willing. If you're willing to buy it, don't go over your head, just like any trade. You don't want to go to the point where you can't manage it.
Nice. All right. Let's shift gears a little bit, and then we'll end with some Q&A, and then both Kenny and I will throw out some of our favorite names. Have we changed our decision here, or have we changed our thoughts on this political situation? Now, a lot of the headlines now about Trump have really turned. I mean, they were really just bigging him up for a while. And now you're just seeing, the dump Trump sort of news just kind of, hit every major headline, every major news wire. What are you thinking here? Has he lost his mojo here? Are we afraid of it? Why are also people saying he's bad for the market? You know, let's talk about it here.
Well, I don't know if he's good for the market or bad for the market because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Where's that Stern show?
I think that's Stern show. Yeah, Stern show.
But what's finally coming to light, that this guy is a reality TV asshole, and he's now the Republican candidate for presidency. And you know why he got so popular is that just like Obama was able to rile up the youth of America and the minorities, and he got elected. Yep. Donald Trump riled up the 50-year-older white
dude, yeah, white racist, white undercover racist that has been waiting to make comments that they've been wanting to make for the longest time. They just haven't had an outlet, and this guy comes along and gives them a little outlet. I agree. I do agree with that.
And as you know, as a minority, and I guess you're a minority too, the brown man.
Yeah.
You gotta think he doesn't like you. He doesn't like me. He doesn't like Jews.
You gotta think.
You just gotta think. He doesn't like Jews. He's not gonna help Israel. He's not. I mean, he'll be for anti-terrorism because everybody is. But fuck this anti-Semitic, racist, orange buffoon. You know what? But the sad part is we got 270 million people in this country, and these are the two assholes that are running for president: Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Are the only two people we could find?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because you need money to be president. And when I hear any politician, if you do well in school, son, you could be president. No, I can't be president because I don't have $1 billion to destroy my opponent in hate ads.
Yeah. At some point, more and more I've been looking at millennials as like an answer to a lot of the broken systems that we currently have, and we currently have in our political system, economic system, whatever it is. I mean, these millennials are really making strides as far as some changes, as far as changes to banking and stuff like that. Like, I really think that the newer generations are going to, revamp this whole kind of process, because it's not cool that we only have these two shitty people to elect here, and it's not cool that a lot of the voices just aren't heard. But how do you in a truly democratic state, how do you and this is why what'd you say?
I would run for president. I don't have any money, dude. I have some sound policies, because taking a little bit from the idea of Trump and how he started to gain this popularity was defending the borders and building the wall and the whole thing.
Right.
We do need to protect our borders. We do need to take our troops from overseas and let them all figure it out over there. Let's just admit we made a mistake. Sorry, we thought maybe democracy was going to take root. I mean, that's why we went into Iraq, right? We were going to start a new democracy. There's only one democracy in the whole far Middle East. It's Israel. We should just take Israel and give them Greece or Puerto Rico or Cuba, and then we won't have to worry about anything that goes on over there. But that's how he got popular. The xenophobia, the hatred of foreigners, and I don't want to hate anybody, but he made points. We can't let those refugees in. We need to do more background checks, and that's what got everybody riled up. But but Clinton, I mean, can you be more uninspiring and just what's the word? Not
lackadaisical or
just not untruthful, but not genuine.
Yeah.
He's a robot. I'm saying things. I want to sound like this. I'm talking like this, and I'm saying key phrases over and over again. First woman, shut up.
But that's what running for political office is. I mean, you get a buzzword, you find a buzzword, and you find a buzz phrase, and you beat that shit until it cannot be beat anymore. And then you move on to the next one, and you move on to the next one. Everything is like politicking with little groups of people, whether it might be minorities or a large majority, whatever it is. You find an issue, you beat the shit out of it, and that's how you win. And again, like a lot of people are now coming out and saying the same thing as you said. Yo, I could be president. I could be president. I could be president. I could do a better job than this person. I could do a better job than this person. I think that's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until finally we have a stage where that's actually going to be looked at, like, where other candidates are going to be pulled in from other places. So again, there's a lot of systems that have to be broken down, and I'll put it to the millennials. So to the millennials out there, I mean, this is your job, this is your future, and this is a landscape that you got to do something about it, because clearly none of us are happy with it, and none of us are going to be happy with it.
I think you just figured it out. Let's just build a website, iwannabepresident.com. You put your portfolio up there. You make a couple of speeches. You post your videos. You give your ideas, and then you go vote. And that's it.
Yeah, and maybe social media becomes that venue, man. Maybe it eventually becomes that venue. I mean, I know a lot of people are pretty upset with Twitter lately. I mean, both Kenny and myself use Twitter very actively, but it's changed a lot. The amount of abuse, the amount of shit talking, the amount of unproductivity that is happening out there as far as comments, as far as retweets, whatever it is, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It used to be a world where, people really had, positive things to say, beneficial things to say. And now you say one thing on this fucking Twitter and, you get rolled out for weeks on this thing, and it's difficult now for anybody to make the case for Twitter as a sustainable platform for anything besides fucking news and all this, but retweeting politic bullshit.
Right. But I still think it's a viable source of information. I seem to get my news from Twitter, and
for the news,
they'll figure out how to succeed. You can see like some news company buying them out, Viacom or CNN or Turner Networks or maybe even Google. I just think, and with Periscope, I still think it's that makes them even more of a viable company. But you know what? I thought that about AOL. They had 47 million people. You've got mail, and they still seem to blow it. Yahoo blew it. So maybe Twitter is just another victim. I don't know.
Who knows?
Back to 1850, I'd be happy at this point.
Who knows? Guys, go ahead and interact on Twitter. Let us know what you think of the two candidates right now, Trump and Hillary. Let us know any comments here as far as new political systems that we could see down the line, that we could really get behind and really rally behind. And that's why I thought Bernie Sanders was the real different candidate. You know what I mean? More so than Trump was. I mean, Trump was because he's not a politician, right? He's just an asshole fucking businessman. But Bernie came from that whole other side. Maybe there was something to democratic socialism. Maybe there is something to it. I don't know. Maybe there is. I don't know. The point is, like, none of this shit has been vetted out, and none of this shit has been allowed to even be vetted out. It's like, all of a sudden, this guy's a socialist. That's it. Throw him to the wayside. We can't even talk about it right now. But why not? Why can't we talk about it? Why is it that these one buzzword just puts everybody off? Why is it? Why is that?
Did you ever ask why? Every person I've had a conversation with, they said, "Who are you voting for?" I'm like, "Well, if Bernie makes it, I'm voting for Bernie." Well, he's a socialist. I'm like, so then your next question is, so why is that bad?
So why exactly?
Answer. He's giving away the country. He wants to break up the banks.
Exactly.
What does that actually mean?
Exactly.
You know what that means? He wants to break up the banks. That's good. Fuck the banks. He took all our money. They got bailed out. Fuck a bank.
Fuck a bank.
Socialism is, you know, that social security check that your mom still gets? That's socialism right there. You want to end it? You want to end it? You want to try to make universal health care work? That's a social program. Remember FDR saving the country? Every program he did was a social program. FDR was a socialist, the greatest president of the last 100 years. What's up? He gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
I understand, true capitalism, you can't have socialism, you're cutting off the entrepreneurial spirit of capitalism. Are you? Are you?
Are you really? Exactly. Are we really?
If you got $17 billion, I think you should distribute your wealth.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it. That's socialism. Some people think that's, you know, like that, you know, again, he's like, no, you know, you can't root for socialism. I'm like, I'm not rooting for complete socialism. I'm rooting for something called social communarchyism.
Right.
Socialism, a little piece of all these things. And that's why, again, why Trump got popular, because at least it was something different.
It was something different.
My God, I can't believe he's saying that out loud.
Yeah.
Wow, he's saying that out loud.
Yeah.
And he made people think. And, you know, but it really comes down to his delivery now.
Yeah.
It's just off-putting.
It is.
If you want to have some respect for the president, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I miss George W. Bush because there was an ignorant man, but he embraced his ignorance. Yeah, gonna smoke him out. Gonna get him. Yeah, woo, mission accomplished. Yeah, I miss that guy. And he also gave me hope as not a smart person that maybe I could be president. I mean, I just need, again, you need the money and the power and the influence, but he was not a smart guy. And it was great.
And he got a full 2 terms, man. He got a full 2 terms. All right, guys, go ahead and give us your comments. Let's go ahead and close it up by giving them some of the better names that we're trading, some of our solid ideas. Let me kick it off by throwing out MasterCard and Visa. I'm swing long both of these names. I love them. I love the order flow that is happening on the tape. I think you could see MasterCard back over $100. I think the all-time high on MasterCard is over $100 somewhere, 102 or something like that. Visa is already at its all-time high at around 81.70 or so, and I think you see further upside there. So those are my 2 hot picks, I would say. Beyond that, just like wait for the rotation. Watch oil and energy. That's where most of the juice is. And try to not trade, man. Try to not trade. It's the summertime. You know, chill out a little bit. If you're going to trade, sell some fucking puts. Sell some puts. Sell some options here. A week out, 2 weeks out, and just scrape some small premium. Don't get too heavy in this stuff. You know, just collect a couple $1,000 a week, and you're good. You're good.
Right? And then eventually, if we do roll over, we'll know when the market's going down. Again, I can't stress enough. If the UVXY could actually go up 2, maybe 3 days in a row,
yeah,
you know there's going to be some selling. If the Qs
exactly.
You know, if the Qs break down, I don't watch the S&Ps and the Dow too much, but I got my levels on the Qs. If they break, but then I need a breakdown and then a failure to rally back up within the next hour, because we break down and within an hour we're breaking out. So when we finally break down and then fail to get back, usually it'll probably be over a VWAP. Then I'll be encouraged to take some larger positions on the short side. Or we just grind the fuck out of the shorts for the next 9 months, which the way I think now is that's what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
But to your point, you know, I own a ton of stocks right now. Most of them were, you know, selling puts on them, but I got, you know, I'm back to that whole philosophy. You know, let me just buy a couple of 100 shares of every goddamn stock I like.
Yep.
They're all working. So it's 300 here, 500 here, you know. Even the Alcoa, I bought, you know, a ton more Alcoa. The stock sucks.
So bad. What is it at, $9? Is it back?
It actually hit 10 today finally.
Oh yeah.
But you saw the support, 885. Yeah. I tell you, when this thing was at 1150 about a month ago, there was no way in hell I thought I would be buying more at 885.
At 885, yep.
Ever. I thought that was it. And then, you know, so a lot of these stocks, I thought the same thing.
Yep, same reason with me on United States Steel. I was looking for. I actually shorted this thing when it dumped through $18. Let me throw it up here so you guys can see it. This gap down and then sell off. I started to get a good piece of this. I didn't think this was going to drift down that much. And now look at it. It's back up to $18. So there's juice in these names. There's activity in these names, the Alcoa included here.
Yeah, well, I tell you, one of some of the stocks I own, there's only one stock I'm red on is, well, I'm actually not red, I'm flat. I bought this SQ on the dump after their earnings report.
Is that a semiconductor? What is this?
No, SQ, that's the little box they make. It's square. The other.
Oh, okay.
And I was in some quirky store, buying some knickknacks with my wife, and the girl swiped the credit card through the thing, and I was like, "What is that?" He's like, "Oh, it's Square." I had no idea what they did actually up until that point. I just knew there was an IPO called Square that Dorsey was involved in. It was going to fail because he sucks. And I saw the product. I'm like, you know what? This is pretty cool. I bought it at 10 and it went all the way up to 15. I'm like, wow, look at me. But thank God, my policy is no matter how much you like a stock, don't own it into earnings.
Right.
What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I mean, well, the worst thing, if you own it, it goes down and you lose all your money. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? It's going to go up 10% without you.
Right.
And you buy it back. So I sold it the day before they came out in earnings, and this thing went all the way back down.
And guys, by the way, that's provided you're in stock. Like if you're in option, it's a completely different story. You know what I mean? Like if you're in an option and it fails, chances are you're not going into it assuming you're going to buy the option back at 50% of a loss or 90% of a loss or something like that. So with a quick disclaimer here, that's just for equities. Any of you guys trading options into earnings, trade it with lotto cash. Trade it with cash that you don't care if you lose. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a 100G account, put a couple grand in this shit in a lotto for a LinkedIn out of the money fucking flyer, and you might make 20 times your money on that shit. That's fine, if you're going to do that. But don't stack up in these things and assume you're going to average down on a fucking option if you missed it, if the earnings didn't go your way or according to expectations. You know what I mean? We got earnings season coming up pretty soon now. Hopefully that'll kick up some volatility here. So so what names you got out there, Kenny, that besides that Alcoa and besides I like that rig. It's interesting. It's still
I got the rig. I got well, what happened was the only stock that I had sold some $30 puts on ACAD about a month ago.
Okay.
ACAD.
Okay.
And I thought they were getting taken over, so I was like, "Wow, you get $1 premium for a $30 put with a couple of weeks." Next thing you know, it went down to like 28 and change, and I got my 300 shares. And look what happened to it.
Yeah.
Thank God they gave you the stock.
That was the bottom. Yeah. So you got put the stock, and now you're long the stock.
Yeah. I only have 100 shares left, but I thought this was a takeover rumor from back in the day. And so then it started breaking out. I mean, they brought this thing from 52 all the way down to 18. And I thought it was done for. And the next thing you know, I see it breaking over. I think it was like $28. Then it went to like 30. So I sold the $30 put, and it went back to like 28 or something like that.
This thing is volatile, man. What's the news on this shit, man?
The drug works again.
Oh, my God.
Every other week with these drug stocks. Their drug doesn't work. It does work. But there's a takeover bid on the stock, supposedly for, close to $60. Some are saying $80. So why not own it? What am I? Now I'm riskless on the trade. If it goes back to 30, it doesn't matter because I took profit along the way. Still loving this, and I still love my potash. I mean, even lumber liquidators, for God's sakes.
Oh, wow. So you got some LL. Guys, by the way, the agriculture stocks, Potash, Mosaic, and all that kind of stuff, like we've seen a lot of flow come into a couple of these names. So definitely something to pay attention to. Like we've seen a lot of options activity on the Potash, the Mosaic, and all that stuff. Like right here, you're taking a look at, the chat room that we have. Right here on the right, you'll see all the options activity for the day. You can search back, obviously, in the history. And we've gotten a lot on CF, too. On CF, Potash, Mosaic. This is a forgotten industry right here. This pretty much is, right alongside with the rest of the materials names. So this could have squeeze potential, and that's in Kenny's wheelhouse right there. Yeah. Loves that squeeze potential.
Check out the ATI, another material stock that got slaughtered. Once again, luckily I sold out near the highs. I bought it near the lows. I took a 3-point profit and it went up 6 points before I even bought it back. But then I sold it. Then they had an offering, and the stock went down to, I think it was like around 12.50. Yep. So once again, I was like, oh cool, I get to buy my stock on sale. So I bought that again. I got ATI, I got Potash, I got Sadly, I sold the Joy Global before that freaking
fucking solars, man. I haven't even looked at any of this stuff. By the way, guys, this is a market for, you know, people like Kenny Glick, not for me. I mean, I like the large cap names. I like the juice in the large cap names. You know, a couple things that I've been treating recently is Priceline and the Tesla. These two have been pretty wild lately. Tesla was on like a 20-point move here in a couple of days. Priceline was on like a 100-point move in a couple of days. Like, I love shit like that. Like, that's where I live. And there's not much of that happening. There's not much of that happening right now. Staying the hell away from the banks. So, guys, enjoy your summer. Write some fucking options. Chill out. To, you know, take advantage of the weather here. East Coast, we don't get it too often, man. So take advantage of it, you know?
Yeah, and if you're going to trade intraday, I mean, you want to come, I could show you a couple of tricks. Email me, kennyglick@aol.com. I'll show you how to find these reversals. If you're going to trade intraday, you should be doing these VWAP reversals. And again, when I say these work about 80% of the time, that's no bullshit. But when I say they work, for instance, what was one of the subtle ones that we had today? I don't even remember what it was because I didn't put it on my P&L. But if a stock goes green, usually you'll get a little bit of a pop because when it goes from red to green, the algos kick in, you get the shorts deciding to cover finally, and you'll get that little pop. Yeah, like WLL was actually a reversal to the downside. If you look at that chart, as much as I love the stock and I own it, I shorted it today, you know, because it gapped up. Next thing you know, it's rolling over, breaking VWAP, going negative. You know, I look to make my 15 cents. You short a couple thousand shares, it goes down 10 or 15 cents. You take your $200-300, call it a day. And if it's, you know, if you could do that 3 or 4 times a day, then you're actually having a pretty good career. But there are days where none of them work, and then there are days where they all work. You got to figure out, you know, at the beginning of the day, you'll see if there's no volume in the beginning of the day, generally your reversals aren't going to work because there's not enough momentum up or down for them to do anything, and they just sit around. You might not make money, but you're definitely not going to lose money because you'll maybe lose, you know, 5 cents, 10 cents on these trades. That's why, you know, like a Priceline, a Netflix, a Tesla, there's no risk in 10 cents. You know, that's why I don't trade them.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't apply the same things unless you have, you know, wider stops and things like that. But again, guys, I mean, with good risk management, you know, any strategy out there can be successful again with good risk management, and that's the tough problem for most people. Because we are emotional. We are emotional as human beings, and this is shown through your trading more so than anything else that you will do. But we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Thank you guys for joining in. You guys can watch all older episodes on YouTube. Hopefully, and I'm not going to just talk shit right here, hopefully Kenny and I can get back for another episode soon. Especially when things are popping here. We stuck to stocks mostly, but we like the comedy aspect as well. So we'll get some more episodes out to you soon, man. Kenny, thanks for joining, man. I will be in New York next week, bro. So I'll hit you up, man.
All right, brother. Good seeing you. Good luck to everybody out there. And again, I'd stay as liquid as you can right now until we break one way or the other.
No doubt.
All right, brothers and sisters. See ya.